Hello guys and welcome to this video. In this video, we will discuss about top 100 Flutter interview questions that probably chance to ask by interviewer. So, as you know that Flutter is a great open source software development kit that is developed by Google. So, in this video, we will discuss some of the major questions that probably chance that asked by interviewer. So, besides providing you with an idea of Flutter interview question, we will also give you tips by S of Flutter interview. So in this thing, it is great to help you whether you are a candidate looking for an interviewer and also for a recruiting. So let's start with some of the simple questions. After that, we will deep inside things. So first question is, what is Flutter? So Flutter is an open source framework which is developed by Google, and basically by Flutter we can make beautiful UI. Also it is natively compiled as well, and main thing is that Flutter provide multi-platform application for a single code base. Also Flutter is not a language, it's a SDK, and Flutter app use Dart programming language for creating a app, and first alpha version of Flutter release in May 2017. So second question is, what is Dart? So Dart is an open source programming language developed by Google in 2011. The purpose of Dart programming is to create front-end user interface for web and mobile apps. Dart is a client-optimized language for developing fast app on any platform, and its main goal is to offer most productive programming language for multi-platform app development. So third question is, what are the Flutter widgets? So answer is, Flutter widgets are built using a modern framework that take inspiration from React. The central idea is to that build from your UI of widgets. We can say widget describe that their view should look like given their current configuration and state. Also, when state changes, the widget reveals its description. So, which is the framework differ again the previous description to determine the minimal changes needed in underlying render tree to transform from one state to next state. So fourth question is, what is the difference between a stateless and a stateful widget in Flutter? So a stateless widget is useful when a part of user interface you are describing does not depend on anything other than configuration information. Also, in the build context, whereas stateful widget is useful when the part of user interface you are describing can change dynamically. Stateful widget is mutable widget. That is the reason it can be drawn multiple times within its lifetime. Also, it is referred as to dynamic because it can change the inner data during widget's life cycle. Widget that allow us to refresh the screen is called stateful widget. This widget has createState method which return a class that extend the Flutter state class. Example of stateful widget are checkbox, radio, slider, inkwell, font, and text field. And a stateless widget will never rebuild by itself, but can do some from external event. A stateless widget does not have any other state informations. It remains static throughout its life cycle. Example of stateless widget are text, row, column, container, etc. So if the screen or widget contains static content, it should be a stateless widget. However, if you want to change its content, it needs to be a stateful widget. Sure. So fifth question is, what is stateful widget lifecycle? So the lifecycle of stateful widget has simplified in mainly 7 steps. So first is create state. So it's called when we build a new stateful widget. this one called create state method right away, and this override method must exist. Second is init state. So it is the first method called after widget is created. This is our equivalent to onCreate and viewLoad method. Third is dateChange dependency. So this method is called immediately after init state method on the first time when widget is built. So fourth is build method. This is called right after dateChange dependency. All the GUI is rendered here and will be able called every single time the UI is needed to be rendered. Then did update widget call. It is will be called once of our parent widget and did change and need to be redraw the UI. Then deactivate is called. So its framework call this method whenever it remove this state from the object from the tree. Then dispose method is there. So it is called when the object and its state are removed from the tree permanently and will never build again. Sixth question is what is app lifecycle state? So app lifecycle has following steps. First is inactive. So this is called when the application is in a inactive state and it is not receive user input. This is called only in iOS. Then pause is called. So this call when the application is not currently visible to the user and not responding to user input and running in a background. Then third one is resumed. So this call when the application is visible and responding to the user input. Then fourth one is suspending. So when the application will suspend it momentarily, this is called, and it's only called in Android. The seventh question is what is pubspec YML file? So pubspec YML file is responsible for handling importing data in your Flutter application. Something like you can import images on third-party packages by in this file. So this file is used to find the dependency of your Flutter project as well. We can say that this is a metadata information is written in the YML language. Also, this file can have the following fields, which is a name, version, description, repository, documentation, dependency, environments, etc. So, eighth question is what is the difference between Flutter package and Flutter plugin? So, in a short answer, we can say that a package contain only Dart code and plugin contain both Dart and native code. We can say in native code there is Kotlin, JavaScript, Swift code. But in a description way, we can say that Flutter plugin is basically for native development, and Flutter plugin is a wrapper of the native code like Android for Kotlin and Java, and for iOS there is Swift and Objective-C. And Flutter can do anything that a native application can throw the use of this. By internally we can use platform channel and message passing. Also, it instructs the native iOS and Android code to return the Dart code. And Flutter package or module, we can say that it's making for development faster by using this code in your util libraries. Just like it's supported to using shared package and contributed by other developers to use Flutter and Dart ecosystem more efficient. It is like this allow for quickly building for your app without having to develop everything from scratch. So ninth one is, what is the difference between widget app and material app? So widget app is basically a convention class that wraps several widgets that are commonly required for applications. One of the primary roles for a widget app is providing a binding into the system, from the big button to pop from the navigation or quitting the application. And Material app is a convenience widget that wraps several widgets that are commonly required for material design in application. And it's built upon to widget app by adding material design for a specific functionality such as animated theme and grid paper. So 10th one is, what is the difference between hot reload and hot start feature? So in simple word, hot reload is just updating the changes in your program, but hot restart will again remove your previous state and run the complete program. So if we talk about in our description, so hot reload is a feature that Flutter hot reload work with combination of small R key and command prompt from the terminal. The hot reload feature quickly compiled the native edit code in your file and send code to Dart virtual machine. After done updating the code, Dart virtual machine updating app UI with the widget. Hot reload take less time than hot restart. Then another thing is, there is also drawback in hot reload. If you are using state in your application, then hot reload preserve the state, so they will not updating on hot reload our set of their default value. In terms of hot start, so hot restart is much different from hot reload. In hot restart, it destroys the preserved state value and set them to their default value. So if you are using state value in your application, then after every hot restart, the developer gets a fully compiled application and all of the state will be set to their default value. And in hot restart, the app widget tree is completely rebuilt with the new type of code. Also in hot restart, take much higher time than hot reload. So 11th question is, can you nest a ScapFold widget? So yes, you can nest a ScapFold widget. That's the beauty of Flutter. You can control all over the UI in your application. And ScapFold is just a widget. You can put it anywhere in a widget tree that you want to. By a nesting of this, you can create any layer of drawer, snake bar, bottom sheet, or any other. So 12th question is, describe some of the major feature of Flutter. So major feature of Flutter is their fast development, expressive and flexible UI, and it's provide native performance. Fast development is something like, with this we can use a rich set of fully customizable widget. You can build native interface in a minute with Flutter. Expansive and flexible UI tends that then layered architecture in with the Flutter enable you to fully customizable to your API. This result in faster rendering and expressive design. And in terms of native performance, so the widget present in the Flutter incorporate all over the critical platform different, such as scrolling, navigation, icon and more. So it gives you fully native performance on all the platforms. 13th question is, how do you reduce widget rebuild? So you can rebuild widget when the state change. This is normal and desirable because it allows the user to see the state changes reflected in the UI. However, rebuilding part of the UI that does not need to change its wasteful. There are several things that you can do to reduce unnecessary widget rebuilding. First thing is that you can refactor large widget tree into smaller for individual widgets, each with the build method. Second point is whenever possible, use the constructor because this is will tell first Flutter that it doesn't need to rebuild the widget. And third point is we can keep the subtree of stateful widget as small as possible. If stateful widget need to have a widget subtree under it, then create a custom widget for stateful widget and give it to child parameter. So 14th question is what is build context and how it is useful. So build context is the widget's element in the element tree. So every widget has own build context. You can use build context to get reference to the theme or another widget. For example, if you want to show a material dialog, you need to reference to the ScapFold widget. You can get it with the ScapFold.off context, where context is the build context of method. Search up to the tree until it finds the nearest ScapFold widget. 15th question is how do you talk to native code from within a Flutter app? So normally you don't need to talk to native code because the Flutter framework or third-party plugin can handle it easily. However, if you do find yourself needing to get special access to the underlying platform, you can use platform channel. One type of platform channel is method channel. So if by method channel, data is serialized on the Dart side and then sent to the native site. You can write native code to interact with the platform before sending a serialized message back. That message might be written in Java or Kotlin for Android and Objective-C or Swift for iOS. You don't use platform channel on the web, however, because they are an unnecessary step. The second type of platform channel is the event channel. So by event channel, you use to send a stream data from the native platform back to the Flutter code. This is useful for monitoring sensor data. So 16th question is what type of test you are performing in Flutter? So there are many type of tests you can perform in Flutter, but three are the main, which is a unit test, widget test and integration test. So by the unit test is useful for all about to checking the validity of your business logic. For the widget test are useful for making sure that your UI widget have that component you expected are working. And in integration test, you can check that your app is working fine in your wall. So 17th question is what are the pros and cons of different state management solutions? So while there are countless varieties of this thing, some of the most popular state management solutions are Block, Chain Notifier with Provider, Redux, Mobex, RxDart or GetX and also for the Riverpod. So these all are appropriate for medium to large scale applications. So if you are only making a quick demo app, then Stateful widget is often enough. So instead of listening pros and cons of this state management option, it is more useful to look at the situation where a certain class of solution is better enough. So for example, if someone's row is overwhelmed with C number of options, so it is important to choose solutions that easy to grab mentally. So if you are a heavily line of stream, just like a Firebase API, and basically if your application is stream based, so I think you choose block. And for smaller application, I think Riverpod is well enough. And it is also for your opinion that which statement you are fit for your project. So 18th question is, what is stream in Flutter? So stream is a sequence of asynchronous event which is provide a asynchronous sequence of data. It is the same as like a pipe where we put some value on the one end, and if we have listen on the other end, it will receive that value. So we can keep multiple listener in this stream, and all of those will receive at the same value when we put into this pipeline. So 19th question is how to create private variable in Dart. So in a Dart, underscore is used before the variable name to declare it's a private, unlike other programming languages. So here private doesn't mean it is available only to the class in it. Private means it is accessing in the file and it is not accessing to other file. So 20th question is, what is the event loop and what its relationship to isolates? So in Flutter, the event loop is the central concept that helps manage the flow of control within the app. So it is responsible for processing event and updating app state in response those event. An isolates is a separate date thread of execution that it's isolated from the main thread of the app. So isolates are used in Flutter to allow concurrency execution of code, which can be useful for tasks that might take a long time for completing, such as for network request or computationally intensive operations. So the event loop is related to the isolate in that it is responsible for coordinating the execution of code across multiple isolates if they are used in the app. So it does this the sending message between isolate and scheduling the execution of code on the appropriate isolates. So overall, the event loop play a crucial role in the operation of Flutter app, also helping to manage the flow of control and coordinate the execution of code across multiple isolates. So 21st question is, what is the tree shaking in Flutter? So tree shaking is an optimization technique to remove the unused module in the bundle during the build process. It is also a dead code elimination technique to use in the optimization for code. So 22 question is, what is DevTool in Flutter? So DevTool in Flutter are the set of tools used to perform means management and for debugging. So with this tool, you can inspect the UI layout, diagnose the UI performance issue, also perform sourcing level debugging, and view general log and diagnostic information and lot of more things. So our 23 question is, what is the Flex widget in Flutter? So the Flex widget allows you to control the axis along which the children are placed in horizontal or vertical. This is refers as to the main axis. If you know the main axis in advance, then consider using the row if it's horizontal or column if it's vertical instead, because that will be less verbose. So our 24th question is, what is the difference between expanded and flexible widgets? So flexible is used to resize the widgets in rows and columns. It's mainly used to adjust the space of the different child widgets while keeping the relation within their parent widget. Meanwhile, expanded changes the constraint sent to the children of rows and column. It helps to fill the available space there. So, when you wrap your child in expanded widget, it fill up the empty space. So our 25th question is, what is the difference between material versus Catino widgets? So Catino widgets are used to build an iOS-like app and material is used to build an Android material app. We can say that Catino widgets implement the current iOS design language based on Apple Human Interface Guideline. And in terms of Material widget implement the Material design language for iOS, Android, web and desktop. And also the Material design language was created for any platform, not just for Android. When you write a Material app in Flutter, it is the Material look and feel on all devices, even for iOS as well. So if you want to your app look like standalone iOS styled app, you can choose Catino instead of Material widgets. So that's a wrap up for part 1 of our series, which we highlighted 25 questions. In this segment, we will delve into a top 100 Flutter interview questions. So join us in the next video where we will tackle next 25 questions in this line. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.